Welcome to the Money Insights Podcast, where high-income earners come to learn wealth-building strategies that will take them from high income to high net worth. With your hosts, financial and wealth-building experts, Christian Allen and Rod Zabriskie.
Welcome into another episode of the Money Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Allen. With me, almost as always, is my co-host, Rod the Pod Zabriskie. Rod, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, I am doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. I feel like I only get you asking me back like half the time. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate those moments when you do.
I need to do better. And I think people appreciate hearing the stuff you guys have going on. So they get all my updates, the grandkids, the graduations.
That's true.
But
That's
we
true.
don't always
They get a lot of that. On my side, people get a lot of updates through like social media and stuff. So
that's true.
My daughter Kate was in a play recently, and I highlighted that in a play because I had a cool experience where I went there and someone gave me a really nice compliment. It gave me a warm fuzzy. I wanted to make sure we passed that along. So people just get it in different ways. So I got to make sure, because you're not quite as active on social media yet.
No, not quite
yet.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think it's good that we get a chance to kind of dig into the life of the Zabriskie household. But anyway, my house is good. Your house good?
Good. Yeah, everything's good.
Okay. So Rod, I'm excited for today's topic.
Mm-hmm.
I did a post on it recently. We're going to have a newsletter coming out on the same topic. But my post was why I just put another $100,000 into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I thought, I just feel like it's a relevant topic, right? It's a relevant topic anytime, right? And I thought, okay, since I'm doing this, why don't I just talk about the reasons why we're doing it? Well, then I reached out to you and said, Rod, we should buy some more Bitcoin together. And that's when I decided we're involving both of us. Yeah. So here we are.
And this is so even though the title says another, for me, this is my first. This is you like holding my hand.
I appreciate your transparency. Yep. We don't want to mischaracterize what's happening here. Yes, yeah. I've owned Bitcoin for a long time. I owned just a small amount of Bitcoin for a long time. That took me a while to find. I did find it, and it's done really well over the last many years. But then it just sat. Like I haven't done a lot with it for a long time, right? So while it's like a relatively new thing. It's both new and old. It's one of those things that I've wanted to get back into, more involved with. But I think what happened is I got a little bit like, this was so many years ago when I was trying to set up like the wallet. And I mean, I did set the stuff up and I bought something, but it just felt convoluted, and it kind of pushed me away from playing in the crypto space, even though in my head I was like, I believe in the value. I believe that it's going to go up over time. Some of it was just laziness, just getting to it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Anyway,
I can relate.
So I was inspired by, shout out to Chris Larson. I was inspired by, at least partially inspired. I think I had started to do some stuff just a couple of days before that, but I also saw Chris Larson's post, and he was trying to make the argument that it's better to own one Bitcoin than it is to be a fiat millionaire. And it's an interesting little debate, and we're not going to get into that debate in this situation, but it inspired me to be like, you know what? I do believe in the value. I need to put my money where my mouth and my head is. You know what I mean? So it was at that moment that I was like, all right, I got to go in. And of course, it was also because there was a big dip that just happened, right? We saw Bitcoin go up to 109, then it dropped down to like, low 80s, high 70s, which is kind of where it's at right now. And I feel like it's a great buying opportunity, right? Because again, if you've ever heard me talk about Bitcoin, I generally believe the idea that if we look down the road 10 years, it's going to be worth significantly more than it is today. The road to get there could be a little bumpy, to be totally honest, right? Like, we could see a lot of ups and downs to get there, but I believe the people who are able and willing and show kind of the discipline to just keep hold of it the whole time are going to be rewarded a lot. And I still believe that today. And of course, that's one of the big reasons that we decided to do this. Okay, so our topic for today, Rod, is 10 reasons why we just invested Rod's first and my another 100,000 into Bitcoin. And I'm excited to jump into it because I think these were, I thought through these quite a bit, trying to figure out what are the primary reasons that I'm actually doing it. And can I make sure that we're adding value to our audience by sharing those? I think we can. Okay, Rod, let's jump right into our list. Unless you have anything you want to hit before, like as context or pretext, before we jump into our, I say 10, it's actually 11. We have a bonus one.
Yeah, you have a
I
way
might
of
have a bonus, two of
those
them,
bonus,
actually.
All right. Okay, we'll see. No, I don't have anything more before we'll just kind of sprinkle it in, my thoughts in as we go.
Okay, clarity. We're not talking about number 1 through 10 in order of importance. We're just talking about 10 reasons in total. Okay. Yep. So, but the first reason on our list, Rod, get us kicked off.
Yeah, we're saying inflation hedge. And the fact is that there are a fixed number of Bitcoin for a while there. So as it was being developed and mined, there was more Bitcoin being added. And I know even when we're saying this that there still will be Bitcoin mined, but it's more and more difficult. It takes a lot more energy, a lot more to make that happen. And so we're pretty much getting to the top of where the capacity is.
Yeah. So how, Rod, just for context again, how does that create an inflation hedge?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the reason inflation happens. Most recently, it happened because our government printed trillions of dollars. And when you have a lot more supply in the market, then the value of what's already in the market goes down. So you experience inflation. And in this case, in Bitcoin, because there's a limited capacity, they can't just go out and keep printing it. It holds its value. And so then when you talk about, especially in relation to the dollar or other currency, fiat currency that can experience that, then it especially kind of holds that over time.
Okay, so I like it. The first reason that we're going in on Bitcoin right now is because we believe it will be a powerful inflation hedge over time. Yep. Okay, the second reason, and I think this is a big one, Rod, and it's happening right now, so we have to be kind of like on the front end, or we might even be a little bit late already. But anyway, sure. The second reason is that there's heavy institutional adoption happening right now. Like the pace is accelerating. More and more people have gotten comfortable with it. Even the large institutions, right? So Bitcoin obviously isn't brand new now. It's like shown staying power. And a lot of us felt like we needed that kind of staying power to do more with it. Like, you know, most people didn't just say, hey, this seems really cool, I'm just diving all in. The people who did are pretty wealthy at this point, right? Yeah. But for most people, it still represents a great opportunity if they can get in sooner than later, because my thought here is that the institutional adoption will accelerate the increasing of the value, right? Because again, it's all about supply and demand. And if there's more demand for that limited amount of Bitcoin, then obviously the result is the price goes up. And so again, while that's happening on an institutional level, like that may be as much of a driver as any of the 10 things that we're going to talk about. So,
and I think it what you're saying is absolutely right. It drives the value up. The other thing is that I think it adds to the stability of it. That doesn't mean we won't still experience volatility. I think it just gives us a little more peace of mind that even while we're experiencing the downs, we're going to see the ups, right? So it does follow a cycle either way, but that stability, I think, helps.
Okay, so first reason, inflation. Second reason, institutional adoption. Third reason, diversification and uncorrelated returns. What does that mean?
Well, so when we talk about diversification, obviously that's diversifying risk, especially, right? So, but a lot of people will think they're doing diversification even though they're in one asset class, buying just different stocks, for example, or different properties in real estate or whatever. And again, yes, that represents diversification. I'm not saying it isn't, but in my mind, it doesn't go far enough. We need to diversify ourselves across different asset classes completely, because let's face it, if you're in 1,000 different stocks, when the stock market's dropping, pretty much all of those stocks are dropping. When real estate's struggling, pretty much all of your real estate portfolio. And again, I'm using broad strokes. That isn't always the case, right?
But in general.
But if you would diversify across different asset classes that have completely different risk profiles, then that gives you another level of security as it relates to diversification. And let's face it, Bitcoin, crypto as a whole has a completely different risk profile than a lot of these other things that we're investing in.
Yeah, and therefore you're creating an uncorrelated return to the rest of your portfolio, which
Yep.
again, when you're talking about diversification, we're not talking about whether diversification and what level of diversification is good or bad necessarily, but when the goal is I need to have some diversification, this is a really powerful way to do that because you're quite literally creating something that's going to be very much uncorrelated to the rest of your portfolio,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The rest of the portfolio is
Exactly.
struggling, your cryptocurrency might be doing, crushing it all at the same time. Okay.
Yep.
Number 4, Rod, talk about proven security and reliability. When I initially thought of this and when I was going through this, I thought, okay, is it proven to be reliable and secure? But I think there's actually a strong case to suggest that it is.
Yeah, and I think the biggest reason is because of it's decentralized. In other words, we're not. If you look at other currencies, and they're typically tied to governments, central banks, and those groups are biased. They have reasons why they want to control the way the currency is managed. And what Bitcoin has shown is that it can work